Everyone knew him as America's most beloved late-night host. But when Jimmy Fallon went live on television that night, he was about to reveal a secret that would destroy the most powerful media regulator in America. Not just comedic timing, but devastating broadcasting law expertise, years of studying FCC regulations and First Amendment media protections. FCC Chairman Marcus Williams thought he was appearing on a friendly late-night show. He had no idea he was walking into a legal execution chamber. Jimmy's first constitutional question alone would end Williams's career within 24 hours. "Mr. Chairman," said Jimmy, his familiar smile now carrying a deadly edge. "Before we start tonight's interview, can you explain to America why the FCC thinks it can violate the First Amendment without consequences?" What happened next would be broadcast live to 3 million viewers and create the most shocking resignation in FCC history. Before diving into this extraordinary fictional legal annihilation, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories of hidden legal genius destroying government authority. Williams's world, regulatory arrogance. FCC Chairman Marcus Williams represented everything wrong with federal media regulation. At 58, he had built his career on censoring content and expanding government control over broadcasting. A Yale law graduate who had never worked in entertainment, Williams embodied bureaucratic arrogance toward the media industry he regulated. His regulatory philosophy emphasized government control over what Americans could watch and hear. Williams particularly enjoyed wielding FCC power against comedians and late-night hosts, viewing their criticism of government as dangerous to public order. That night, walking into Studio 6B at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, Williams expected a softball interview where he could promote new FCC restrictions on comedy content. He had no idea he was entering a legal slaughterhouse. Jimmy's hidden journey, from comedy to constitutional scholar. The world knew Jimmy Fallon as the heir to Johnny Carson's throne. From Saturday Night Live to becoming NBC's Golden Boy, his journey to late-night supremacy had made him America's most trusted entertainment voice. With The Tonight Show's massive platform and cultural influence, Jimmy reached more Americans than most politicians. But what audiences didn't know was that Jimmy's comedy career had sparked intensive study of the constitutional principles governing broadcast media. Starting in 2010, frustrated by increasing FCC interference with comedy content, Jimmy had begun secret study of broadcasting law and First Amendment protections. "They keep trying to control what we can say and do," he had confided to his producer, Mike DiCenzo. "If I'm going to protect comedy and free expression, I need to understand the constitutional law that governs broadcasting." Working with media law professors from Columbia and NYU, Jimmy spent his time between shows studying Supreme Court broadcasting precedents, FCC regulatory history, and constitutional media protections. He completed advanced coursework in broadcasting law, First Amendment jurisprudence, and the constitutional foundations of media regulation. By 2023, Jimmy wasn't just hosting The Tonight Show. He was also a constitutional media law expert with devastating knowledge of FCC overreach and broadcast regulation violations. The setup, live television trap Studio 6B, was packed with The Tonight Show's usual audience, expecting another lighthearted celebrity interview. The cameras rolled as Jimmy introduced his guest with characteristic warmth that masked the legal ambush he was about to unleash. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome FCC Chairman Marcus Williams." Williams walked out confidently, waving to the audience, completely unaware that Jimmy had spent months preparing to destroy him on live television, using nothing but constitutional law and FCC's own regulations. "Chairman Williams, thanks for being here," Jimmy began, his smile genuine, but his eyes calculating. "I have to ask, are you familiar with the Supreme Court's decision in FCC v. Pacifica Foundation?" Williams nodded dismissively. "Of course, that's the foundation of our content regulation authority." Jimmy's smile widened. "Interesting, because you just revealed you don't understand the case that supposedly gives you your power. The constitutional ambush." "The Pacifica decision," Jimmy continued, his voice still friendly but now carrying legal precision, specifically limited FCC authority to the narrow circumstances of that case, afternoon radio broadcasts accessible to children. The court explicitly rejected broader content regulation authority. Williams shifted uncomfortably. "Well, I think our legal team interprets—" "Your legal team is wrong," Jimmy interrupted, still smiling. "And here's why. The Supreme Court in Pacifica said, and I quote, 'We have long recognized that each medium of expression presents special First Amendment problems. Radio gets limited regulation. Television gets even less. Streaming platforms get almost none.' The audience began to sense something unusual was happening. This wasn't typical Tonight Show banter. The FCC's new content restrictions, Jimmy continued, violate not just Pacifica, but also Red Lion Broadcasting, Miami Herald vs. Tornillo, and Turner Broadcasting vs. FCC. You're operating outside constitutional authority." Williams was sweating now. "I don't think this is appropriate for—" "What's not appropriate," Jimmy said, his comedic timing now weaponized for legal destruction, "is a federal agency violating the Constitution on live television. The legal execution accelerates." Jimmy reached under his desk and pulled out a thick legal brief. "Chairman Williams, this is a 47-page analysis of current FCC regulations and their constitutional violations. Would you like me to read the violations on air, or would you prefer to resign first?" The studio audience gasped. This was unlike anything they'd ever seen on late-night television. "You can't seriously think," Williams started. "Section 315 violations," Jimmy read from his brief. "The FCC's equal time enforcement selectively targets conservative and progressive content while protecting centrist viewpoints, constituting viewpoint discrimination prohibited by the First Amendment." Williams was now visibly panicking. "This is ambush journalism." Section 73.1216 violations, Jimmy continued relentlessly. "The FCC's indecency standards apply different criteria to identical content based on political context, violating both equal protection and First Amendment neutrality requirements." The broadcast regulation massacre. "But wait, there's more," Jimmy said, channeling his SNL energy for constitutional devastation. "The FCC's social media monitoring program violates the Fourth Amendment's warrant requirements. Your agency is conducting illegal surveillance of American communications." Williams tried to stand up. "I think we should end this interview." "Sit down, Chairman," Jimmy commanded, his friendly demeanor now completely gone. "We're broadcasting live to 3 million Americans, and they deserve to know how their government is violating their constitutional rights." Jimmy turned to the camera. "Folks, what you're witnessing is a federal official who can't defend his agency's unconstitutional actions when confronted with actual law. The constitutional checkmate." "Chairman Williams," Jimmy said, returning to his guest, "I'm going to ask you 3 simple constitutional questions. If you can't answer them, you should resign tonight." Williams was trapped on live television with nowhere to hide. Question 1. What Supreme Court case established the constitutional standard for government regulation of broadcast content? Williams stammered, "The Pacifica case." "Wrong," Jimmy said. "The answer is Red Lion Broadcasting, which established that broadcast regulation must serve compelling government interests through the least restrictive means possible. Your current regulations fail this test." Question 2. What constitutional principle prevents the FCC from regulating content based on political viewpoint? Williams looked desperate. "Well, we try to be fair." "Wrong again," Jimmy announced. "The answer is the First Amendment's prohibition on viewpoint discrimination, established in Rosenberger v. University of Virginia. Your agency systematically violates this principle." The final blow. Question 3, Jimmy said, leaning forward for the killing blow. "What happens to federal officials who violate their constitutional oath of office?" Williams couldn't answer. "The answer," Jimmy said directly to the camera, "is that they get removed from office for constitutional violations. Chairman Williams, you've just demonstrated on live television that you don't understand the constitutional law that governs your agency." Jimmy held up another document. "This is a formal complaint I'm filing tomorrow with the House Communications Subcommittee, documenting every constitutional violation we just discussed. Your resignation letter should be submitted before the hearing." Live television history. The Tonight Show audience erupted in shocked applause as Williams sat speechless, destroyed by constitutional law on live television. Social media exploded as clips of Jimmy's legal annihilation went viral within minutes. Williams mumbled something about consulting his lawyers and fled the studio, his career effectively ended by 10 minutes of constitutional education. The resignation and impact. The next morning, Chairman Williams submitted his resignation to the White House, citing personal reasons. Media outlets immediately connected his departure to the previous night's Tonight Show humiliation. Legal scholars praised Jimmy's constitutional analysis as devastating and accurate. The House Communications Subcommittee announced they would investigate all FCC practices Jimmy had highlighted. Most importantly, Jimmy had demonstrated that constitutional knowledge could emerge from unexpected places and that media personalities could defend their own First Amendment rights more effectively than traditional legal establishments. The long-term revolution, Jimmy's constitutional ambush, changed both broadcasting regulation and late-night television. The FCC retreated from many content restrictions, while other hosts began studying constitutional law to protect their own shows. Law schools started teaching the Fallon method, using popular media platforms to expose government constitutional violations. The case became a landmark example of how entertainment could serve constitutional education and accountability. Jimmy Fallon had proven that comedy and constitutional law made a devastating combination when wielded against government overreach. His legal execution of the FCC chairman became a permanent reminder that free speech protections belong to all Americans, especially those brave enough to use them against those who would restrict them. If you found this incredible fictional story of broadcasting constitutional courage and live television legal annihilation inspiring, please hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing tales of hidden legal genius destroying government authority. Ring that notification bell so you never miss these extraordinary fictional stories of constitutional knowledge protecting free expression. What did you think of Jimmy's constitutional destruction? Share your thoughts below. Important note: this is a completely fictional story created for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real events or persons is purely coincidental.